Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Biblio Fitness. Hope everyone has a great day today. Hope everyone makes amazing gains. Hope everyone gets to read a little bit today, or whatever it is that you need to do. So today is basically this is the scene in Brothers Karamazov, like basically immediately afterwards, after the conversation between Alyosha and Ivan. And it's a very small chapter, but I think it basically leads up to the catastrophe that is in the Brothers Karamazov. So, and that's after Ivan leaves the restaurant, the tavern with Alyosha, and he goes to his father's house. And then because like when he leaves, he feels like this sort of anguish, like he starts feeling like this very heavy weight on his consciousness, right? And he's trying he's attempting to figure out what is the origin, what is the source of this terrible feeling that he started to develop inside of him. Is it anxiety of going to Moscow and going on a new life, having no idea what's going to happen, but having these huge expectations, but not really knowing what the hell you're going to do there? Which is obviously justifiable, everybody, when we move or when we go on these new adventures, there is that level of anxiety because we're stepping into the unknown. We're creatures of habit, and once we step out of that comfort zone, anxiety, everything arises. But then he figures it's not that. And then he figures, hey, is it maybe my conversation with Alyosha? He's like, bro, like I've never been able to voice my opinions on Christianity, on how it all is, and the big lie and all this stuff. And now that I finally do, I feel like an idiot talking to him. But then he's like, I don't think that's the case either. And as he continues to walk, or get near to his father's home, he sees Smerdyakov. And Smerdyakov is one of the lackeys of Fyodor and might be his illegitimate bastard son, but that's hearsay. And then he starts noticing that the anguish and the anger that he has is towards Smerdyakov, because when Alyosha tells during the conversation previously, or the conversation prior, he mentions Smerdyakov, how Alyosha talked to Smerdyakov and gave Ivan all the details. Ivan felt a level of pain and he got pale. And now he notices that it's Smerdyakov that's getting him really mad. Like for some reason, he just has this pent up anger towards him. And at first they were very cordial with one another when they made each other's acquaintances for the first time, right? Smerdyakov is a very intelligent man, but he always seems to be very distant. He always seems to be like thinking somewhere over there. He seems to be a very contemplative individual. A man that's not really in the moment, just constantly thinking about shit, which I get. I get that, but then that cordiality started becoming a little bit more malicious in terms of from Ivan. Ivan started noticing that this guy is very weird. He starts asking very distant questions about specific topics, and he puts himself in these conversations. But then right in the middle of getting these topics and right in the middle of getting into this big discussion, he automatically just loses interest. He just shuts down and he switches to another topic. So it's very difficult to pinpoint what the fuck this guy's thinking. What's his game? What's his aim? He seems to be just aloof, like it's just so distant from everybody and stuff like that. And then I was like, oh, and another thing that was pissing him off is that Smerdyakov is starting to look at him as an equal. Not as a pupil, but he starts treating their correspondence or their interactions as if like they both have a secret they both have, and they're the only ones that know, and the other mortals around them have no idea. And that's everything is permitted, because this story is about to take the turn for the worse. It's about to ratchet up to a level 1,000, and I fucking can't wait. Right now I'm reading about fucking Father Josima's background, which is very beautiful, and I want to talk about that in another episode as well. But he goes to Smerdyakov and he has this anger, and he tells himself in his head, oh, I'm not even going to fucking look at him. I'm not even going to look at him. I'm not going to pay attention to him. I'm just going to go right in. But he doesn't. He just looks at him, Smerdyakov comes up to him as in he's gonna have a conversation, and I love how like in the dot, like during the story, it's like he looks at him as like, where are you going? You want to have a lot to discuss. You want to have something to discuss, right? And instead of Ivan blaring at him and telling him to get the fuck away from me, you scoundrel, you piece of shit, blah 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 blah, he just does the complete opposite. He just asks him, "Oh, how's my father doing? Is he asleep?" And Smerdyakov was like, "Yeah, he's asleep, but he'll wake up in a bit, start bothering and pestering me all over it again." And then he goes, sits down, and he asks him, he's like, and Smerdyakov asks him, like, "Hey, so are you gonna end up going to Cherchnya or whatever?" It's some town that Fyodor is asking Ivan to go for him in order to complete some sort of business venture. And Fyodor can't go by himself. He can't go himself, obviously, because he's still waiting for Grushenko to come around. And then Ivan's like, "Why do you care if I go? Why do you want me to go so bad?" And then right before he goes, Smerdyakov was like, bro, it's just like he's like, "I don't know what to do. I'm so scared. I'm such in a terrible position. You know, when your father wakes up after midnight, all he does is pester me and ask me, 'Oh, is she here? Has she come here? Any new developments? Why isn't she here?' And then when he wakes up in the morning, guess what? Again, pestering him questions, getting mad at Smerdyakov because she didn't show up, as if he had some sort of control whether she would arrive or not. And then his brother would come along, Dmitry. He would stay at the neighbor's house with a gun or weapon, he says, and pester him too. And he'd be like, "Oh, I'll break your fucking legs if you don't tell me when she shows up. And she shows up and you don't tell me, I'm going to fucking kill you. I don't know what to do. I'm fucking fearful for my life." And then I was like, "Bro, what the fuck are you talking about? These are just passionate claims. He's not gonna kill you. He might kill his father, but he's not gonna kill you." He's like, "What do you mean? He's probably gonna kill me first. Like, what are you talking about? Like, do you not know who the fuck your brother is? Like your brother's fucking crazy." And then he's like, "Bro, I think I'm gonna get the falling sickness tomorrow anyway. It's like, I'm just so fearful." Like, he suffers from epilepsy, Smerdyakov. You're not supposed to know when you're supposed to get epileptic episodes, but he somehow knows, and conveniently tomorrow. And the reason is very important is because guess what? Ivan is leaving tomorrow. No one's gonna be in the house. Smerdyakov apparently is going to have an epileptic fit. He's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "I have a feeling that I'm gonna go tomorrow. Just so much pain and so much pressure. You know, when I go up last time, I was up in the attic and I fell down and had an epileptic seizure." And I was like, "Bro, but how do you know when you're gonna get it?" He's like, "Oh, but I walk up the stairs all the time. I go to the attic, I go to the cellar, I could fall any time. And I have a feeling I'm gonna fall tomorrow." And then he also says, "Oh, and Grigory," which is the other house servant, "he's not gonna be able to do anything tomorrow either because he just got sick. He's sick. He has lower back spasms. He feels like shit. Right now, his wife is getting some ointment together to rub on his back. And then they drink alcohol. They drink the rest of the brew, which is apparently alcoholic in nature. And they get drunk. And they fall asleep. And no one's going to be able to wake them up." So Smerdyakov is basically saying tomorrow everything's going to be wide open. No one's going to help your father. If there's any time for Dmitry to come in and kill somebody, it's going to be tomorrow. Especially if Ivan leaves. And then I was like, "Bro, why the fuck are you telling me this? Like, why would even Dmitry show up? Like, he doesn't know that she's coming or anything like that." He's like, "Oh," and then Smerdyakov was like, "Oh, but Dmitry knows the secret signals that your father and I have when Grushenko shows up." And I was like, what signals are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh yeah, we have developed this sort of plan that I'm supposed to knock like twice, like papa, real quick, and then pause, and then do one hard knock if she shows up. And if something's really urgent, you just go pa 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 pa." I don't know how it is. I forgot how it is, but there's different knocking patterns in terms of strength and speed. Whether there's an emergency that he needs to see his father real quick, like Smerdyakov needs to see Fyodor, or the woman has actually arrived. And Dmitry knows this. And then I was like, "Dude, why the fuck would you tell my brother? Are you stupid?" He's like, "Oh, but I was under the threat of death." Like, like Dmitry was coming at me, he's like, "Oh, there's something you know that I don't know. There's something you know that you're not fucking telling me. What is it? What is it?" Pushing him. And Smerdyakov smelled the beans because he's like, oh, I told him so he knows that I'm a faithful servant because I don't want to get hurt. And then he's like, and fucking hell, bro. And then Smerdyakov goes on to say, it's like, oh, and if I have an epileptic seizure, guess what? No one is going to be able to blame me when your brother kills your father. I'm not going to be able to be considered an accomplice. And it's because of that. Like, you know, he spilled the beans on the whole secret signal thing. So he's basically saying everything is literally wide open. He's telling Ivan, like, dude, this is what's going to happen. I'm not going to be around. Grigor's not going to be around. And your father is going to be a fucking maniac who's just waiting, not going outside. And your brother knows how to get in. But then why would he come in, right, if she doesn't show up? Apparently, everyone knows that Gruchenko, like, if Fyodor married Gruchenko, no one's going to make any money. Ivan, Alyosha, Dmitry, none of them are getting any money. Because obviously Gruchenko is a swindler and she's going to try to get everything in her name, and then they're left with nothing. And also, Dmitry knows about the letter. He knows there's a letter of 3,000 rubles, and apparently that's all the money that's owed to Dmitry. Remember, if you go back, Dmitry owes 3,000 to Katerina. So that's a very enticing little letter with the money in it. And it has the seals, he knows where it is. So everything is being set up for murder. Everything is being set up for preemptive murder. Everything is just like literally the door's leaving wide open. All Dmitry has to do is basically walk in. Smerdyakov is telling Ivan this. And Ivan's like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, then why would you want me to go? Why would you want me to leave this town? And he's like, I just don't want you to get involved. You know, if you don't want to get involved, it's not your problem. Just go away. Like, why do you have to deal with this? Just go away. Like, he's putting it to his face, dude. You know, because and another point is that Dmitry knows that if Fyodor dies without writing his will first, because there's no will, every son gets 40,000 rubles. There's just so much temptation going on. And Ivan's like, holy shit. Like, you know, it's pretty obvious what's going on. It's pretty obvious what Smerdyakov is fucking telling him. Like, dude, if you don't go, if you leave, your dad will die. Your father will die, and it'll be your brother that did it. Are you going to stay or are you going to go? Is it your problem or are you going to leave? He's putting the ball in his court, really. And the reason I go back to everything is permitted is because Smerdyakov also has a very a similar train of thought as Ivan. They don't believe in God. They mock God. They mock all these things. And if you mock God, if you mock the ideal, you no longer believe in the virtues. You can't believe in the virtues and the values without the God. Like, the whole point of you following a specific set of virtues is to eventually reach that ideal, aka God, right? So now that has been absolutely shattered. And if that's absolutely shattered, then everything is permitted. Even murder, even the setting up of murder. What does it matter? There's no consequences. You're not going to hell. Ain't nobody going to damn you for eternity. You might as well do it if you can. And this is the integral role, because it's literally all up to Ivan. Are you going to leave or are you not? Because if you don't, there might be a chance. But if you leave, you might as well just, you know, start getting ready to lift your father's coffin or whatever, because he's going to die. And it's a very short chapter, but it's very fucking intense because he's telling him, he's like literally blurting it out to him. Yeah, tomorrow I'm going to fall. Grigor's not going to be available. His wife is going to be out. No one's going to be around to protect your father. No one. And I was just throwing a fucking fit, right? He's like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? I can't believe you're fucking telling me this. Like, are you fucking crazy? Like, you're gonna let my brother murder him? He's like, dude, I can't do anything about that, man. I'm small. I can't protect myself against Dmitry. And he's not gonna kill me because guess what? I'm in an epileptic seizure. What is he gonna do? Attack me because I didn't tell her the Gruchenko arrived? It's fucking, and then the very minuscule, very important point is that Smerdyakov told Fyodor to expect Gruchenko to show up the next day. right when everyone's incapacitated. Oh, Gluchenska will definitely show up tomorrow. So he's setting him up. All Fyodor has to do a little knocks, and Fyodor's going to open the door. And that's it. It's over. It's done. It's finished. This is a setup towards the end, and it really is about everything is permitted, because there are no more fear of consequences, because there is no consequences for your actions. And Smerdyakov is a very interesting fucking guy. Like, it's really all starting to come to a head, this whole story, this animosity, this anger, and Ivan wants nothing to do with it. He's like, he goes inside the bed, and he goes inside the house after this little conversation, and he immediately just shows utter contempt to his father. He's like, bro, fuck you, I'm going to my room, don't bother me, good night. And throughout the night, he can't sleep, because he knows that, Smerdyakov has to walk around midnight just to make sure she's around, and then knock, and blah, 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 blah. And he's just there, and he goes outside, and he just looks, and he hears downstairs, and he hears his father running around, like walking around, pacing back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. And then around 2 a.m, he goes to sleep. And then when Ivan goes to sleep and he wakes up, he's like ecstatic. He's like, oh, I'm giddy, I'm ready to go, but with this certain level of anxiety, get the fuck out. Like, to clear out. Like, I want nothing to do with this. If they murder each other, go fuck themselves. I'm not here to take care of anybody. He's just trying to get the fuck out as soon as possible. As soon as possible. And then Smerdyakov goes to him. I remember in the conversation, he's like, oh, are you going to go to Chechnya, or are you going to go to Moscow? Because Moscow's farther. If something happens, it's going to take a lot longer for you to know if you're in Moscow. He's saying, like, if you're going to Chechnya, then something might, something can help out because you're right there. But if you're in Moscow, you're far away. You're far away from anything that can happen. There's no chance in hell that you could affect the outcome. And so he wakes up the next morning. Ivan very giddy, like I said, very antsy, very ready to go. And his father presses him to do the favor. Like, oh, go to this. Like, I'm going to meet some guy. He's buying my plot of land for this much money. Go see if he's if he's lying or whatever the case may be. And after pestering, Ivan's like, oh, yeah, I'll go. And when he's in the carriage, he goes to Smerdyakov. And he's like, oh, I'm going to Chechnya. I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing the name of the town. But he goes, I'm going to that place. In the back of it, he's like, well, why the fuck did I tell this guy where I'm going? Why? Why am I doing this? And all Smerdyakov is telling him, like, oh, it's always a pleasure to talk with intelligent people. And I'm just like... And Ivan doesn't even end up going to church now. He goes there and he's like, nah, I'm going to Moscow. Fuck this shit. I'm leaving Moscow. I want to get away from the catastrophe as much as I possibly can. And then when he's in the train, when he's heading over there, he whispers to him, I'm a scoundrel. And you are. You were about to let a tragedy take place. You were told what was going to happen, and yet you left anyways. That decision is going to come back and bite Ivan right in the ass hard. It's going to cause serious psychological problems, because this is all his fault in a way. He was able to influence Smerdyakov. They both are very pessimistic about Christianity, about morals and ideals. And I get what Dostoevsky's trying to say. Like, if you don't have ideals, if you don't have God, if you don't have the system, I'm so sorry. It's early in the morning. Reward and punishment. And then we're just going to be killing each other, doing whatever we want, and be very Machiavellian-like towards one another, because there's nothing keeping us together. There's no value, there's no moral, there's nothing that's linking us all together towards this ideal. That's the biggest thing that everyone says, like, oh, all of us humans are on this trajectory towards progress, towards this utopia, which I don't believe. But still, people subscribe to that train of thought, or that sort of weird story of history, like we're all getting together to do to this greater good somewhere, and I don't really think that's the case. But whatever, that's a conversation for another time. And so this is really an important point. Like everything is set up because the next day, guess what? In the morning, Smerdyakov, guess what happens to him? He falls from the fucking cellar and has an epileptic seizure. And then guess what? Grigory is out. He's sick. He just got the fucking back spasm. He's incapacitated. So Fyodor is all by his lonesome. And I think we already know what's going to happen. But that's going to be an episode for another time. But really, it's all about really everything is permitted and everything is coming back to bite Ivan in the ass. All right, this is your philosophy played out in real life. And these are the consequences of that philosophy. And now it's just waiting for it all to unfold. Right now, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it's part of the story. I am reading about Father Joseph because it's basically his last night. And Alyosha's there, and it's basically a recounting of what he said. Like Alyosha apparently wrote it down, what he was talking about afterwards and stuff like that. So that's what we're reading, getting a little bit of backstory of him. And that's probably going to be the next episode because it's a beautiful thing. It's still a holy, full thing, but there's really good stuff. And when you read that, you can really tell that Christianity got a lot from Greek philosophy, a lot. Like you really can't understand Christianity if you don't know Greek philosophy. Like it's pretty obvious, but not everyone knows this. So we're gonna get to a really good point. I can't wait to keep reading. I'm gonna go read right now. So hope you all have a great day. Hope you all make amazing games. Right? Love y'all and peace.